So Murder Drones just ended, and I finally put in the work to read up on the wiki articles and lore, so nothing's holding me back from hyperfixating. I am locked in on my love for this show now, and no, I will not be providing background information. Plenty of others already have. This video is for two groups only, Murder Drones fans and Liam Vickers, maybe. Possibly. I'm not sure if we're getting a season 2 since the conclusion is so open-ended, but let's just say we did. Let's also say I was asked to write it, or at least come up with the central ideas. Disclaimer, this is a Schrodinger's pitch, which means it's just for fun. You shouldn't take it seriously unless Liam is stalking my channel and takes interest, in which case it's completely serious and I'm basically the coolest and most attractive person who's ever lived. So the finale left most of our blorbos in a pretty good place overall. Sin and the Absolute Solver are nullified as threats. The disassembly drones have integrated into society on Copper 9. Uzi and N are dating. V is kinda just chilling and girl bossing. J is... actually, I don't know what J's doing. And Doll... So what's next, you ask? Probably some nice slice of life fun? Some well-deserved peace? To that I say, absolutely not. Don't get me wrong, just vibing with these characters would be a pretty fun time, but let's be real, this show is called Murder Drones, not drones living a relatively normal life in a replication of human society. So here's my pitch for the beginning of Season 2. It's a little while after Absolute End, and things are just about standard again on Copper 9, minus the massacres. Then, a spaceship touches down on the surface and what appears to be a disassembly drone disembarks. They request to speak with whoever's in charge, who happens to be Khan, the leader of the Worker Defense Force. The Worker drones are nervous about letting this drone in, but they prove not to be a threat and instead come with a warning. The drone reveals that they aren't a drone at all, but actually the husk of a drone controlled remotely by a human pilot. She introduces herself as Nova Heartland before revealing an organization known as the Human Restoration Coalition is headed for Copper 9. The HRC plans on destroying every drone it can find. Let's pause so I can explain this. The fate of humanity in Murder Drones is a bit of an unexplored avenue. We just know that before the story began, Sin and the Absolute Solver massacred practically everyone on Earth with the disassembly drones before summoning a fucking black hole to tear the planet apart. Very unepic. Now, we still had Copper 9, but then we got fucked there too, and the Worker drones kind of just took over for us when we all died, so massive shout out. My thinking is though, it's the 3050s by the time all that shit went down, and I'll be damned if we haven't got ourselves more than a single exoplanet colony in 1,000 years. Kind of a mid-civilization if we only had Earth and Copper 9 to our name. They may have killed most of us, but I'll tell you this, humans are annoying little pests who never go away no matter how hard you try, and I'm willing to bet there's still millions out there. Millions left without their homeland. So, the HRC. It's made up of diaspora humans, and most of whom ever managed to flee Earth before it was totally destroyed. Over the course of almost 20 years, the HRC has been severely galvanized into a systemic hatred of any form of artificial general intelligence. Thanks to Sin and the Absolute Solver, these humans view all drones and all AGI programs as inherently unreliable and prone to corruption, if not outright evil and fundamentally unworthy of existence. A biosupremacist mindset exists among the members which posits artificial life is no life at all. According to this mindset, all that is artificial is to be wielded by humans for their own benefit as tools and not living beings. As such, the HRC seeks to destroy all AGI in the name of vengeance, especially the Absolute Solver, turning any drones it can find into servants humans can fully operate. Maybe with enough drones working for them, a new home akin to the one humanity lost can be built. Well, gee, this band of robo-racists sounds like it could have been a really huge problem for our very artificial cast, doesn't it? Sure, but not as much of a problem as Sin or the uncontained Absolute Solver. In my mind, the HRC wouldn't have dared to come close to Copper 9 knowing the Solver was sending its disassembly drones there in presumably large quantities. It's also possible in my headcanon that the Solver was already fighting the HRC in some of the other colonies, keeping it at bay with its drones. However, with Uzi incapacitating it in Absolute End, let's just say all those drones it was using to fight are at best highly confused and at worst barely operable, allowing the HRC to swoop in, win its battles, and turn more and more of those drones into human-operated machines. It won't be long before the HRC realizes the Absolute Solver isn't a threat anymore, and when it does, suddenly the idea of going to Copper 9 and exacting revenge won't seem all that daunting. Oh, and by the way, Uzi contains the Solver now. You know, the thing the HRC wants more than anything to destroy. In any case, Nova explains as much as she can to the drones, claiming she's a defector from the HRC who wants to protect the drones. She's also the disgraced daughter of the Marshal of the HRC, Evelyn or Eve Heartland. The drones are initially skeptical, but after Nova shows sufficient proof of her claims like the data she stole from the HRC, they believe her. Khan immediately decides to hunker down and build more doors, because we all know he would. It comes to light that Uzi has the absolute solver, and Nova decides she has to be put under extra protection, the situation heavily concerning N because he's a golden retriever who worries deeply for his girlfriend. The tense atmosphere grows as the worker drones prepare to hunker down, and then more ships are spotted approaching Copper 9, shooting out pods at the surface and deploying HRC-piloted disassembly drone husks. Nova, along with N and V, head over to confront the HRC pilots. One pilot in particular recognizes Nova by her drone husk and has some banter with her. This is Nova's cousin, Adam Florin, a man who despises AGI and drones perhaps more than anyone else in the HRC. He's one of Marshall Hartland's most loyal followers, closer to her than her own daughter, and he's the immediate antagonist of the season, with the Marshall and the HRC in general being the more overarching threat. A fight breaks out and Uzi eventually joins in against everyone's wishes and uses her solver abilities to help her side. Our protagonists defeat a good amount of HRC pilots, but Adam proves to be a force to be reckoned with. With more pilots still on the way, our protagonists are forced to retreat behind the doors and hunker down with the worker drones. Adam searches for a way to break in, and now he knows Uzi has the absolute solver and plans to kill her in particular more than anyone else. Thus ends my initial pitch for Season 2. With every passing episode, the HRC's presence on Copper 9 increases. Our protagonists are forced to fight to their fullest extent to keep their loved ones safe in the face of this looming threat. If anyone's able to ensure this is as much of a thrill ride as possible, it'll be Liam Vickers. It would also be interesting to have Uzi actually start to work with Sin in a limited capacity due to the circumstances. I could see Sin trying to regain power by taking advantage of the situation at hand. But the two could also become a less amicable version of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. In general, Uzi would be put through the ringer in this season, just like the last, with the feeling of literally being targeted by all of humanity on her back the whole time. Not to mention, it's guilt complex time. Keep in mind, Sin's downfall and the containment of the absolute solver is directly tied to the HRC finally pursuing the drones, so in a way, Uzi might blame herself for it. This could all definitely lead to some cute newsy moments as N comforts her and helps her through these complicated feelings. You could also do some stuff with V genuinely bonding with and protecting the worker drones, since even after she ends her murderous rampages and rejects Sin's control and canon, she still doesn't seem like she's really friends with any of them. That could be a crucial development in this hypothetical Season 2. The only loose end here is Jay, and honestly, I'm not sure how to incorporate her in this pitch. It very much seems like she's going off to do her own thing anyway. If she needs to be here by whatever means, I can see her being a third side or a begrudging ally of the protagonists. Having her constantly bicker with the others while forced to work with them would be pretty fun, actually. I think this Season 2 could also explore some interesting ideas of personhood as it applies to AGI and whether there really is any difference between it and a human being. Frankly, the fact that I'm making radical anti-drone bigots the villains in this pitch should be a clear indication I think an AGI would, for all intents and purposes, be a person deserving of our rights and equal consideration. Just to be clear, this doesn't mean I support AI in real life in terms of what we're seeing now. There's a world of difference between straight-up AGI and standard AI tools humans callously use to screw over other humans any way they can think of. The drones are not ChatGPT. You sit my man N down in front of a computer and he's going to write the most beautiful, heartfelt, earnest yaoi fanfiction ever known to the universe. That is a person just like all of us, and maybe that's something we could use a little reminder of the closer we actually get to AGI. Anyway, that's about it. I had a lot of fun coming up with this. This probably won't be how Season 2 actually goes, if it even happens, but I've honestly gotten so invested in these ideas that I may very well write a fanfiction about them anyway. Who knows? At the end of the day, I just wanted to share my fan pitch, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed. If you have any other ideas you'd like to share in the comments, please do. Now, excuse me while I rewatch Absolute N for the billionth time, and take care. Hey folks, if you're hearing this, you're at the end of the video. Congratulations! If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and check out my Patreon for perks like early access to videos, your name in my credits, and more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.